You're with The Capitalist Sage, a twice-a-month podcast that seeks out entrepreneurs and experts that speak to the real-world life of doing business for their sage advice. Now, with your hosts, Karl Barham and Rico Figliolini.
Welcome to The Capitalist Sage podcast. We're here to bring you advice and tips from seasoned pros and experts to help you improve your business. I'm Karl Barham with Transworld Business Advisor. And my co-host is Rico Figliolini with Mighty Rockets Digital Marketing and the publisher of the Peachtree Corner magazine. Hey, Rico.
Hey, Karl.
How you doing?
Good.
I'd like to introduce some of our sponsors. First sponsor being CMX Cinebistro here in Peachtree Corners. Opened up a new location. Great location to check out if you want a nice date night. Great dinner there. Catch a movie. Enjoy the new town center at Peachtree Corners. Also like to thank Explore Gwinnett for being a sponsor. Lots of different adventures you can go on. Look out, keep a lookout for different events that are posted from Explore Gwinnett.
Also, they should look up the top 10 lists at livingpeachtreecorners.com because we did that with them, and that's going to make you feel
absolutely great things for kids, date nights, desserts, great ideas to go out. And of course, we'd like to thank Atlanta Tech Park here in Peachtree Corners for hosting the Capitalist Sage podcast. Today, our guest is Jahari Soward. She's an entrepreneur starting an educational technology company, and she'll tell us a little bit about that journey. The company's name is eSTEAM Kits, and I'd like to welcome Jahari today. Hi, Jahari.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this space?
Sure. So I'm a scientist by trade. I've been in the industry for several years as a chemist, turned to HR leader, the HR recruiter. So I started recruiting for the science, technology, engineering, manufacturing community, and really started volunteering quite a bit in different schools just because I saw a huge disconnect in the number of students and women that were represented. Shortly thereafter, after I saw such a disparity, it really inspired me to do something about it. And that's why I started my eSTEAM Kits, really to help not just with confidence in young girls, but also help bridge the gap in the talent pipeline.
Fabulous. So you're going through the journey as an entrepreneur, getting started in this, and you spent a lot of years. What are some of the things that you were surprised at when you were trying to get an idea off and build it into a business?
I think one of the biggest things is that perhaps what I thought was the real problem really wasn't. I've made many different pivots in my business from the time that I first started. But then I also recognize that the mentality that I had when I first started the business is very different than where it is now. And I had to recognize that I had a lot of gaps, some capabilities that I needed to increase. And I really had to start thinking like a founder and not just like a entrepreneur.
Wow. Well, one of the things is you're working in the educational tech space. What inspired you to build a business in this area?
Yeah, well, there's quite a few disparities that you see. This past summer, I participated in an educational series through Georgia Bio, and we had the opportunity to work with many different teachers through the state of Georgia. And one of the things I recognized was just the number of teachers that didn't have a strong background in science. And engineering. And while they were teaching some of the subjects, they lacked experience when it came to some of the technologies in their classroom and how to use it properly.
Were these like lower grade teachers,
yes,
elementary school teachers? Elementary
school teachers. And most of the time when you have elementary school teachers, they oftentimes don't have a degree in the actual field. So you might have someone that might have an education background, but is not a scientist, is not an engineer. And so your ability to provide some level of expertise might be a little bit more limited. And this was a way to correct that.
And especially if they're teaching math, they're teaching science, they're teaching English. I mean, how much can you know about everything? Right?
Exactly.
What were the things that when you look at this space, a lot of different ways to tackle this problem, but what's really at stake? You're going after a problem that has impact in industry and beyond and for people. What did you learn about, why this is a particular problem we all should get engaged in trying to solve?
I mean, our STEM talent pipeline is something, pretty serious, right? We know that in the future, 80% of our future jobs will require a background in STEM. And we look at the number of students entering that space, and we're talking about less than 10% of minorities and less than 4% of women minority women are represented in that field. So when I think you look at the disparities and you talk about innovation and how does our country compete, we have to open up those talent pipelines and allow for accessibility.
And one of the things you notice when you see some of the best paying jobs and over the next 25 years developing economic prosperity, if you're not well versed in tech, whether you're marketing it, whether you're developing your software coder, you're going to be locked out of a lot of opportunities over the next 25, 30 years and beyond. And so really, really attacking this early makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, for me, science changed my life. Me being involved in STEM at an early age impacted everything for me now. And so I grew up in a pretty under-resourced community in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And it was only because of my interest in science that I think provided me other opportunities to see the world differently. And I'm extremely passionate about it and want to make sure that other students have the opportunity to do that.
So you worked on it from the recruiting standpoint to try to bring people in, but you've targeted a business here that's targeting much younger and also a particular approach to get people more excited and knowledgeable about it. Why did you pick doing the eSTEAM kits to do this?
Yeah, that's a good question. One of the things that I kind of think about is how do we introduce STEAM careers to students at an early age? And typically what happens, I even look at my own story and I'll tell you that I made a lot of decisions void of knowledge. I'm a chemist, but I didn't really learn about certain careers in STEM until I was well out of college. And so I think about, if I would have had those opportunities, had I known earlier on, would I have made different decisions for myself moving forward? And I think that was my goal in my eSTEAM Kids, is how do we help bridge the gap in understanding different careers and giving them access to those careers at an earlier age. One of the reasons why I targeted middle school specifically is because that's typically where you start to see the gap or the fall off with girls' interest in STEM education. They peak kind of at that 3rd to 4th grade level where they have a high interest. And then typically by 7th and 8th grade, that number dwindles by almost 30 to 40%. And that's a significant drop off.
Do you know why that happens?
There's 2 reasons. One is the lack of interest. And the other is the lack of role models and accessibility. So one of the things that My eSTEAM Kids really aims to do is kind of bridge those 2 things together. So we introduce them to STEAM careers through hands-on projects, but we also align them with STEM mentors on a monthly basis in those aligned areas.
Within that subscription model?
Exactly.
Really?
Exactly.
So you're not just sending out a box with STEM stuff in it.
Right, no.
You're supporting it even further through.
Exactly. And that's really what we wanted to get to. How do we help solve for the real problem, not just increasing their interest level, but really giving them the opportunity to see themselves actually working in that space and see themselves as a potential valuable contribution to society.
So I love that this is really servicing a public good and attacking this. Let's talk about how do you build a business model out of this? So your customer, who's your customer base when you look at this? How did you think about that? How do you think about collecting revenues? Who pays for these things? Because I could see the payer is different than the person that benefits from it versus the person that makes the decision. Help me understand how you started to dissect that.
Yeah, so let me start by telling you that initially when I started the business, my business model was very much a direct-to-consumer approach or B2C model, where I really was focusing a lot of efforts on reaching out to parents and identifying parents that would be interested in purchasing a box. But I think also when I look at my mission, the question is there enough disposable income in that market to be able to support subscription boxes on a monthly basis without cancellations? And so one of the things that we've been able to do is think a little differently about my business model and really reaching out to nonprofit organizations and after school programs that still support STEM efforts, but now gives them the opportunity to use our model and use our boxes as a way to support their after school STEM programming. One of the good things about that is that our box has been able to prove out some pretty significant data as it relates to self-efficacy in STEM. And so we know for a fact that our boxes help with not just increasing your confidence in science and engineering or science and math, but it also changes the way that you think about yourself. And we do that specifically with the STEM mentor matching.
Let me ask you something, because I just thought of two things as you were doing that.
Sure.
One is you went from selling to consumers to more mass, which is interesting because a lot of businesses tend to find selling to a place or a market where they have multiple areas that they can sell through to is more profitable and makes sense business-wise also. The other thing is you're collecting data to a degree, which if you're doing it broad enough, could have an impact as well in the industry.
Absolutely. Hopefully, it'll form into a white paper sometime soon. So that's what I would love to see happen.
Or a lot of folks now, data is becoming more valuable very often if you're able to collect data on what's effective. People can learn. Why don't we tell people what's in a typical box? If you were to describe a box to a person, what's in it? What would a person that's using the box do? Yeah. And what's the outcome from that? So,
I'll tell you a little about maybe the first couple of boxes that we had. So our first box, we really just launched in February of this year. Our first box was a cosmetic chemistry box where we introduced students to careers in cosmetic chemistry. We included all of the safety materials like your lab coat and your safety glasses and your gloves and talked about the importance of that. But then we also gave them real lab instrumentation. So we gave them real beakers. Some got graduated cylinders. We also provided them with all the materials that you need to actually create the products. And so that was the finished product containers, the emulsifying wax, the stearic acid, the aloe vera. Everything is obviously safe and nothing that could be dangerous or anything like that. But that was a very exciting box for it to be our first one. This last month, we did one on paper science on how to make paper out of pulp. And then our next month's box, which will be coming out this month and will be delivered in May, like the end of May, is an intro to biomedical engineering. And so they will create a heart pulse monitor using an Arduino board. And so it's a lot of just good introductions to the industry and to these different fields. And I would say on average, we also include the instructional videos with it, along with some information about the different careers in that area.
Got it. So notice, where do you get the inspiration so far? And as you think about it in the future, where would you get inspiration to come up with different boxes for the kids?
Yeah, being that I've been in the recruitment space in the STEM industry, I look at careers that'll be in high demand by the year 2026. So I really want to make sure that I'm being strategic in the type of boxes that we put out to the public and making sure that they have an introduction to careers that will be in high demand in the near future. So that's how we come up with some of the boxes that we're coming up with.
What about going forward in the future? Have you thought about different ways to engage different stakeholders into getting getting ideas in the boxes?
Yeah, we have conversations and contracts with some large organizations in the B2B space. And so we are doing some boxes that are industry specific. For example, we have some boxes that will be targeted in IoT. We have other boxes that will be targeted in electronics. But the future is to have boxes that corporations curate and help sponsor themselves as an introduction to STEM careers within those organizations.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I could see that as fascinating, because if you get the right company to be able to do this,
yes,
and they become that corporate sponsor, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, we're only going up to the age of 13. Mm-hmm. Probably go higher than that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Our plan is to definitely expand. Right now, that's our target, but we hope to expand in the near future for sure.
And having corporate partners actually would be helpful.
Yes.
I know that you've had some help along the way, and one of the programs that you were involved with, Start Me. You tell people that are thinking about doing this some of those resources that you found helpful in your journey going forward. And then also, what are some of the challenges that you faced and still face getting this off the ground?
Yeah, I had some great resources along the way. Of course, Start Me was outstanding. We've done a lot of pitch competitions with the National Council of Negro Women. That startup capital was very helpful as well. We also did organizations like WeFunder. They have a mini accelerator that we participated in out in Silicon Valley. And then we also got a chance to participate in programs with Black Enterprise. We were Black Enterprise Tech Connect Fellows. And so I think you just have to really put yourself out there and be comfortable with failing and not succeeding at everything. And it can be a very scary road. But you just got to do it. I think for me, also engaging myself in the subscription box industry was really important. So I attended a lot of trade conferences on that just to make sure I was clear on some of the market trends in the subscription box space and what to prepare for as much as I could. I would say as far as biggest challenges that I'm seeing thus far is definitely in product market fit, but also just in growth strategy. I don't question my ability to grow. I think right now it's a question on how will I grow and what would be the highest value at this point.
One of the things you mentioned, some of these programs, I know there's a small business development center out of the local university systems, University of Georgia, others. They have resources that help you with business planning. Start Me is a program sponsored by Emory and some other organizations that help entrepreneurs develop their business plans. They practice pitching, they practice talking to financing, but it's amazing the number of resources that are out there to help you and the value of building networks of people that not only can help you, with the details of how to do something, but their networks and connections into industry, business, finance, etc., to help bring you along that way. So it's smart that you're figuring out how to utilize each one of those as you're going through the journey of building a company.
I'm actually thinking that I admire the fact that you're willing to evolve. Based on where you started,
yes,
consumer-driven originally, but then you pivoted and went a different route because it made sense. Right?
Yeah. You have to. You have to recognize that how you might think you're going to grow. I recognize that the subscription box space is very new, but specifically in the kids subcategory, when you're dealing with educational boxes, there was probably 3 to 4 boxes that had about 60% of the market share. And so when you really think about the number of players that are entering the market, the barriers to entry being fairly low, you really have to think about what is the true market opportunity available to someone like me.
And there's also in that space, I would think places like, I forget there's one major chain store, education, the name of it is. But I would imagine a company like that has resources to be able to purchase the materials at a way cheaper setup probably easier for them to do it, maybe, but because they're not, because it's so easy, they may not quite get the inventive way that you've got it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And go in that route, it seems. Because I keep thinking of Jeff Bezos in the garage boxing up the books to send out to UPS.
Yeah.
You're probably somewhere boxing these things up.
Yeah.
With multiple items.
What does your production facility look like at this stage?
It's my living room. I do a lot of this, from home right now until we get to the point where we can get a fulfillment center and have them actually start sending the boxes out for us. Right now, it's, having a bunch of friends come over. We do some boxes. I order pizza for them, and we get them shipped out. So it's a very startup grind.
What are some of the things you as you're going through this now, and there are people that might be inspired or at least get an idea of whatever their idea is, knowing that you can do it, there's resources out there, you can do it. Any advice you'd give to folks that are thinking about what would be one or two things that they can do to help be more successful?
I would say first, the mindset is really critical. Mm-hmm. It's tough. You have to create space and boundaries for yourself and really immerse yourself in the startup community. I think that comes with your mentorship, the places in which you decide to work, and co-working spaces and facilities like this, or startup communities. Those are really critical because it puts you in alignment with other founders who are working on some of, who are all struggling and trying to figure out how to solve for the next challenge. I think the other thing, though, is the mentors and the guidance, the books. I'm doing a class now with Kaufman, Foundation on VC deals, venture deals, and how to do that. I mean, you just really have to be all in and fully committed. And it's one of the best things I think I've ever done, but the value of the mentors is critical, and a board of advisors to help you throughout the way and think through issues.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that can contribute, even it's just expertise and knowledge, and people sometimes underestimate the ability to just reach out to people and what people are willing to do that to help. Well, I'd love to know a little bit about, anything that you have going on. What's next? You're at a critical stage, and I know it's getting busy and you've got a lot going on.
Yeah.
What do you have coming up in the next couple of months?
So we have several camps that we're preparing for, that we're doing boxes for. Some of our upcoming boxes is, like I said, in biomedical engineering. That's the box for this month. We have boxes that focus on digital media, the introduction to digital media in filmmaking. Others that focus on electronics, that will have a focus on how to build surveillance cameras using Pi. I mean, just very interesting, very small things, but things that can also evoke a level of curiosity. So we're reaching out daily to other after-school partners and after-school programs, and really helping them develop a solution to their STEM after-school needs. And we do that through My eSTEAM Kids. So we're excited about the journey and ready for what's next.
That's fabulous. I know one of the things I saw online as we were looking, maybe you could tell us a little bit. You can't be what you don't see. Tell me a little bit about what that means to you, and a little bit of how people can reach out to you if they want to learn more.
Yeah. Well, definitely, you can't be what you don't see means everything. It's all about exposing students to other professionals in the industry, but exposing them to careers that perhaps they don't know. And so that's really what My eSTEAM Kids is built on. It's hands-on projects and the STEM mentor matching, and matching them with a mentor in the field. We know that for a fact that's one of the ways that they think and perceive themselves differently. And so we believe in that. For me, it was a game changer for my growth and my trajectory. And you can find us on www.myesteamkids.com. And you can also find us on all social media channels at My eSTEAM Kids as well.
Well, I want to thank you very much, Jahari, for time and advice. I mean, you're doing something that many people wish they had an opportunity to do, but the first thing it takes is making a decision to go do it, and getting that perseverance and determination to go out there and start. And you're off to a wonderful start. And I also love that the fact this was around education. And if you think about what's happening in cities all around the country, particularly here in Georgia, like Peachtree Corners. We've got a Paul Duke STEM school that's emphasizing education. I know in Technology Park, a lot of Technology Park, they're looking at bringing technologies in companies and looking at that younger generation, getting the curiosity going, getting them interested. We might see one of the next tech entrepreneurs that come out and be inspired by one of these kids. So that'd be a great way to leave a legacy on this business.
Did you give a website, by the way?
Yes, it's www.myeSTEAM. That's eSTEAM kits, KITS.com.
Cool.
We'd also like to thank Atlanta Tech Park again for hosting the Capitalist Sage podcast and our sponsor, CMX Cinebistro, a wonderful night out.
Yes, 4-star restaurant, maybe a 5-star. Scratch kitchen, entrees, desserts from scratch. And then you can watch a movie too.
Absolutely. The movie experience, it continues to evolve. Yeah. And also like to thank Explore Gwinnett. Just lots of things going on throughout Gwinnett for folks to do. Check out the top 10 list on.
Especially the top 10 dessert list that we have up there right now.
Oh, absolutely. And I want to thank Rico for continuing to do a great job with the Peachtree Corner
Karl's magazine. The one that does the heavy lifting.
Thank you. But anyway, if anyone needs help, I'm Karl Barham with Transworld Business Advisors of Atlanta Peachtree. We're here to help people, business owners out there that are looking to grow their business or maybe looking to exit from one business into another. I can be reached at kbarham@tworld.com, or you can visit our website at www.tworld.com/Atlanta Peachtree. Transworld's available to help people with a consult on what they want to do next with their business. And Rico.
Well, I'm Rico Figliolini. I'm a co-host here with Karl. Thank you, Karl. Karl's the driver, really, of this podcast. I do several, and this is one of them. The others are, you should check online for Peachtree Corners Live. We have an upcoming interview on there. The Ed Hour, we're putting together a show on that one. And Prime Lunchtime with the City Manager. We do that once a month. I'll be coming up after the 4th Tuesday this month with Brian Johnson, the City Manager. Plus, because my busy schedule is not busy enough, I publish Peachtree Corners Magazine, which is going 6 times a year now, not the 4 times. We've expanded it, and it's getting good reception, so I'm really happy with that. And if you need any social media marketing strategy or creative services, you can find me at mightyrockets.com, or just look up Rico Figliolini if you can spell that, or close to it, on LinkedIn, and you'll be fine.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for coming in and visiting today. That's the Capitalist Sage podcast signing out. Have a good day, everyone.
Take care.
This has been the Capitalist Sage with Karl Barham and Rico Figliolini, the twice-a-month podcast with entrepreneurs and business experts. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Want more? Visit our website at capitalistsagepodcast.com.